Hi guys, I'm Sam Chapman, makeup artist and content creator. I'm going to show you how to do this look, which is a bridal makeup for hooded eyes. Preparation is key. You've really got to make sure that you get your skin in good condition. This can start a few months before with facials, but on the day, I recommend some eye patches. These ones are from Rare Beauty. They are the Fine Comfort Hydrating Eye Patches. You could also use a face mask. Charlotte Tilbury does a really good dry mask. And once you're done with those, remove them and we can start with primers. I have very dry skin, and so the products I choose today will be for somebody with dry skin. If you have oily skin, these products may not be exactly the products you want, and in that case I would recommend that you go into Space NK and you talk to an advisor there about what would be right for you. Now, I have kind of open pores, uneven surface, and also I'm pretty dehydrated, and so I'm going to start with the Herborium Pink Primer and Care. Now, this is a multi-perfecting primer and care. It smooths skin, blurs pores and enhances radiance. I'm going to work this all over my skin. You might find that you're dehydrated in some places, you might find that you're oily in others, and you can mix and match primers in the areas that you need in order to keep your skin looking great all day. So if you find that you get shiny during the day, you might want a mattifying primer, and you can just pop that through the T-zone. I never ever shine, and so I'm using a product that gives me a bit of a glow. This might sound obvious, but if you are doing your own makeup on the day, do your makeup in a room where there is no people and no wedding clothes. So no shoes, no dress, because you would be amazed at how quickly makeup travels when you have it on your hands. Next step is Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. Now, this is a second primer, and this is going to give me an extra glow. I'm not going to put this all over, I am going to put it through the T-zone and on the tops of my cheeks. As I said, I'm very dry. This might be where you would put a mattifying primer. I'm using an Hourglass 15 brush just to work that over the top. You want your makeup to stay on all day, so lots of fine layers is the key. You don't want to put anything heavy on. Just nice light layers and build it up. I forgot to put my lip balm on. Start with a lip balm so that your lips are ready for your lipstick later on. This is the Dr. Jart's Vital Hydra Solution Lip Mask. So just pop that on now. You're going to take that off later anyway. But I can't deal with dry or uncomfortable lips all day, so prep. Foundation time, Hourglass. This is the Vanish Stick foundation. I'm using the shade Vanilla 4.5. Why did I choose this foundation? Well, I think this is one of the most amazing all-round foundations. You can wear it quite sheer, or you can get incredible coverage. It's also waterproof. So if you think that you're going to be a bit of a crier on your wedding day, it's a winner. It looks flawless as well. So I'm just going to pop a little bit on my cheeks, and then I'm going to use the same brush that I worked the Flawless Filter in, and I'm just going to buff this in. And I'm going to build this product up. It's easy to build up, it's a little bit more difficult to take it away once it's on there. When I'm using a stick foundation, I like to spritz with a setting spray, just so that it has longevity. So I'll spritz this now, and I'll work that in with the same brush. So we're really locking that foundation in. Great thing about this foundation is that you can also use it as a concealer. Okay, don't set it with powder yet. We want to do that right at the end. So let this sit and sink into your skin. This is what I call a first base. And so I'll come back to this later once I've done the eyes to do a little bit more work on it and make sure it's really flawless. So let's move on to brows. Less is definitely more when it comes to brows. I have a little bit of old microblading in there, and also I plucked all my eyebrows out in the 90s, and so there's very few there. So I do have to do more work on my brows than most people do. So just do the minimum amount that you can get away with on your brows, because it allows you to keep quite a fresh face. Very made up brows can really make or break a look, to be honest. Your wedding day isn't really the day to try out new things. So if you always wear full heavy brows, do it. If that's your signature look, if you always wear red lips, do it on your wedding day. You know, don't try new things. But then if you don't normally wear blue eyeshadow, don't be trend led into wearing it on your wedding day. I think you might regret it in your photos. Like I regret having blonde hair. So I am using RMS Beauty Back to Brow Brow Powder, and I'm using it in the shade dark, but I'm using it very sparingly. What I find with this is that the medium shade is a little bit too warm for me, so I go for the dark shade, but I just tap it out, so I'm getting much less product, and it's a much better shade on me. It's got like this nice sort of ashiness to it. This brush is the accompanying brush that goes with it, so it's RMS Beauty. And I will start by just building in the back of my brow and then working forwards with it. So let's just do some basic bridal tips. As I was saying, it's not a good idea to try out new trends and things on your wedding day. You would be amazed at some of the things that people do the night before their wedding. As a makeup artist, you will have witnessed a lot of things. One time, a lady dyed her hair the night before, but she must have, I don't know, somehow she managed to get it all over her forehead. So don't dye your hair the night before your wedding, because that's really hard to cover. If you can't remove it from the skin, it's very, very hard to cover. We did manage it, but it was stressful. Another thing to not do is to fake tan the night before your wedding. People do it all the time, and the amount of orange hands, orange elbows I've had to deal with, and also when you put on your wedding dress, which may or may not be white or cream or a light colour, even if it's dry, it still will transfer. So you have to be really careful with that kind of thing. Now, when I do bridal work, I tend to work much more with products that aren't liquid. So I would pick something like this, because if I drop it, it's not going to go everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like with a liquid foundation, sometimes you press the squirter and it could just go everywhere. So I'm much more mindful with the products I use that they're not going to make a mess. So just putting the shadow through and then brushing it through as well to soften it. Then I am going to take a brow gel. I have this Lash Tint mascara from 1999 in the shade Taupe. So let's pop a little bit of that through. Now, of course, if you have great eyebrows, you could get away with just tinting them beforehand, not the night before though. Get them done professionally. And then you can skip this entire step. I'm going to move on to eyes now, and we will keep concealer until after we've finished the eyes. I'm going to begin the eyes by using a Lisa Eldridge Liquid Silk eyeshadow in the shade Ione. So I just pop this across the eyelid. And then taking a brush, I'm just going to blend that in. So this is makeup for hooded eyes. And so we're going to start by, so we're doing makeup for hooded eyes. We're going to start by putting this colour all over the eyelid. Now these cream shadows set matte, but they also absorb an awful lot of eyelid oil. so it should stay matte for the whole day. If you find that it doesn't, then you can go over the top with a powder shadow as well. But these make a perfect base for eyeshadow. I also quite like them on their own. Now, when you have hooded eyelids, you don't see a lot of the eyelid. You can see quite a bit of mine, but that's because I have Botox under my eyebrows. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see them at all. And it would be much more like this. So you can't see the eyelid. And so there's not an awful lot of point of doing extensive, beautiful eyeshadow on there because you don't really see it. And so one of the wonderful things that you can do for hooded eyes is that you can concentrate on the lash line, which always looks really stunning. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this product from Surratt, and it is called Smoky Eye Baton, and the shade I'm using is Vapor Mauve. Now, they do these in a variety of colours, but it really is a one-stop shop. So you have your liner on one end and then your eyeshadow on the other end to smoke it out, and it makes it so easy for you. So we are going to focus a lot on eyelashes today, because when you put lashes on, it really opens that whole area up. So what we're going to do is put the liner on so that it hides the lash line. Don't worry too much about getting this neat. Get it as close to the lash line as you can, but don't bother with trying to make it, you know, a seamless line. You can just step it across if you like, and you can see that's not even at all. Then I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to run that over the top, just to move that eyeliner into the shape I want it. Then using the other end, we can run that across the top, and that eyeshadow will seal that pencil into place and also smoke it out. If you want to blend it more, you can. If you want a thinner line or you want it smokier, I like to apply a few times, because the more you sandwich products, so the more layers you do, thin layers, the longer it's going to last. I love these Surratt Smoky Eye Batons. I actually have some in more natural colours that I wear daily. Hourglass, this is their waterproof liner. The exact name of it is Waterproof Gel Eyeliner, and the shade here is black. Now I'm just going to twist this quite far out, and then what we're going to do is we're going to tight line with it. So take your time to do this. You're going to go underneath the lash line and just line the fleshy bit underneath your lashes. And the reason we do this is because it makes your lashes look fuller, and you don't have that sort of white fleshy line underneath. It looks quite seamless, and you can already see that kind of really smokes things out a bit. Now, the reason I twist it quite far out is so that I can get this. You can see I can get that just under there. Otherwise, you'll be struggling and more likely to poke yourself in the eye. If you find this very difficult to do, you can just push a brush here and lift it up, and then it's much easier for you to get under there. You see? It does feel a bit tickly though. Let's talk about colours. Now, I've picked quite cool colours here. There is a reason for that. The colours you pick could be depending on the time of day that you get married. So cooler colours are called receding colours, and what that means is that they're not diluted by sunlight. And so if you want your makeup to look defined, you might pick those colours. And if you wanted your makeup to look very natural, you might go for more of the golden colours, more of the kind of warmer colours that might be diluted by the sun. If you're looking for a more defined, made-up look, then you would go for these kind of receding colours, the cooler tones. Of course, if you find that you don't suit these colours at all, don't do that. Just wear your warmer tones, so your golds and your warm browns, but use a black to define along the lash line. and just really blend it in. Black always scares people, but it looks amazing along the lashes. I'm going to curl my eyelashes, and then I am going to put on a coat of Ilia mascara. This is the Limitless Lash Mascara, and it really is smudge free. So I'm using my Swede lash curler. I'm just giving my lashes a bit of a curl. Now this mascara is great because the wand has a comb on one side and then a mascara brush on the other side, so you can get quite lengthened but separated eyelashes. And I've chosen to use a brown. This shade is called Before Dawn. And the reason I'm using a brown is because I'm also going to put on some individual lashes, and they're going to be in black. So I don't want it to look over dramatic. I've got 2 sets of lashes here. You really could do it with 1 set, but because I'm a perfectionist, I've got 2 sets. One is medium and one is long, because I will graduate the lashes outwards. These can be reused if you're careful with them. Now these are from Swede, the same people that made my lash curler, and I'm going to start with some medium lashes. There's 2 sizes in each box, so you've got 2 different sizes of medium. You've got 8mm and 10mm, and then the same with long. Right, pop a little bit of glue along the seam, and then you can take these and just put them at your lash line and drop them on. The lovely thing about clusters is that it's much quicker to use. You know, it's like 5 individual lashes all stuck together, but it's not as tricky to put on as a full set of lashes. We're going to put one at the front here. And then I'm going to move on to the slightly longer ones and work those on the outside edge. Depending on the shape of your hooded eye, you might want to go long all the way along. If you find that you're more hooded in the center, you might want to go longer in the center and shorter on the outside. If you pop into Space NK, someone in the store will be able to advise you the best way to do that. Now with this last one, I'm going to stick it at a little bit of an angle just to give a little bit of a kick to the outside of my eye. So I'm going to overlap it and just place it at a bit of an angle to give a lift. So it's a little bit separated from my lash line, but nobody will ever notice because we've put that darker colour in there to hide that. And then you can just go back along and squeeze your tweezers to your natural lash line and make sure they're really stuck down. Lashes are on. I'm going to pop a bit of mascara on my bottom lashes. Now, if you find that your mascara always transfers, you might want to skip this step. Or if you don't wear mascara generally on your bottom lashes, also skip this step and just pop a little bit of eyeshadow on. Well, I'll start off by popping a little bit of eyeshadow on just so you can see how that looks. So we'll use the eyeshadow from the same stick, but we won't use the eyeliner. So just the shadow this time. And you can just run that just along the bottom lashes. And I'm going to soften that with a finger. Now, we haven't even put concealer on yet, so don't worry if I look a little bit dark under my eyes. Right, now I'm popping a tiny bit of mascara on those bottom lashes. Now these are the Kosas concealers, and one is a colour corrector and one is a concealer that you can put over the top. They work very, very well. The shade of colour corrector I have here is Illusion. I am taking the colour corrector, Illusion, and I'm just going to pop a little bit just under the eye, and I'm really using a tiny amount here. People get really carried away with concealer, but it's one of those products that looks really obvious in daylight, so I like to go quite light with it. Right, next I'm going to take the shade 2.6C, and I'll pop a little of that just under here. under the eye, but also on top of the cheekbone to give a bit of a lift. Then we take that just upwards at the edge here to give that added lift on the outside corner. Now Lisa Eldridge makes these great concealer pens. They're called pinpoint concealers, and if you have any blemishes, you can just go around the face and just take it out with those, rather than using a concealer where you have less control. So for me, I have quite a bit of sun damage, so I'll just use these to hide it. And now we can use powder. Laura Mercier translucent powder is the icon. It is the Dawn of loose powders. So we're going to use that. Load up your brush, tap your brush out. And then set everything into place. Now this will mattify me, and I don't love being matte. You might, it's just a personal preference, but the great thing is I can spritz it down later and bring the glow back. Okay, now we are going to do bronzer. Oh, it's right here in my hand. This is Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Sun Kissed Glow Bronzer, and I'm using the shade 1, which is Fair Pale. I'm using a Space NK 203 brush. And I'm going to take this bronzer around the hairline and tops of cheekbones. And you can take a bit across your nose as well. And the jaw. I like to pop a little bit up the back here. Ready for blush and highlight. This is so pretty. RMS Beauty in the shade French Rosé. This is a Laura Mercier angled cheek contour brush. And this blush has got a little bit of a sheen to it. So it works really nicely, quite high up. Also as a highlighter, it's going to catch the light. I always think popping a pink blush up here is really lifting. Right, a little bit of highlighter. The Neo highlighter from Kevyn Aucoin in the shade Sahara. Just at the back here. And then we are going to move on to lips. After that, we'll come back and we'll polish everything. Laura Mercier, Delicate Nude Caviar Perfecting Lip Liner. I love this, it's a very soft shade. If you're fair like me and you want something that looks really nude, this actually does. Now, some people might disagree with me on this. I know a lot of people love long-lasting lip products for a wedding. I actually prefer to use something that I can just reapply, but that's going to look nice all day. Sometimes I find with the long-lasting ones, they look a little bit dry after a few hours and they start to crack, or it might disappear just in the center, and then you're stuck with kind of a weird lip line, as did also happen to me on my wedding day. So I tend to prefer to go for something that is maybe a souffle lip, so soft and will wear off nicely, or a kind of tinted balm. These are from Hourglass and they are absolutely gorgeous. It's like a tinted balm. They're quite tinted. And this shade is Sense, number 10. Really soft, really pretty. Now, if you're having your hair down, I would probably go for a different lip. If you're having your hair up, then something glossy is really pretty. Now that everything is dry, I'm going to go back to the lashes. I'm going to pop a few more on and pop some mascara on those lashes as well. Okay, so I've just popped a bit more mascara on And I'm going to finish just by taking Charlotte Tilbury Iconic Nude and just going on the outside edges of my lips just to define. And because you're here, I am now going to matte this off and give you an option of a matte lip. So I am going to use the Rare Beauty Soufflé Lip in the shade Courage. And I'm going to pop a little bit of pink just in the centre. This is RMS and the shade is Audrey. Right, we can finish with a little bit of setting spray, Rare Beauty, always the optimist. And then just let it sit. Now, where's my hairdresser? Thanks guys, bye.